at the front of the field as the cars snake round. For all these drivers, it's going to be a very hot and humid 50 minutes of racing. They're going to have to try and keep their tyres in tip-top conditions. And before the previous race, someone described it as a bit of a problem when they seem to be melting underneath you. It's that hot. Afik Yazid starting on pole position. Daniel Muscat starting alongside Chris van der Drift, who just competed in the Blancpain GT Series Asia race. We start third for Gamma Racing. Takashi Kasai from fourth. And of course, the drivers who started first yesterday will start second today. It's a two-driver race. Some drivers doing both stints. But of course, with a minimum pit stop time, no one is at a disadvantage. Yesterday we had victory for Gamma Racing. They've been making a habit of that this season. They've had 5 wins. A 6th win was taken away from them for a technical infringement, and a 4th place. So they really are the gold standard. And as we saw Chris van der Drift kicking off today, he'll hand over to Evan Chen. He's starting 3rd on the grid, so looking very good. But expect in the early stage of the race for Afik Yazid, the Malaysian racer, to see if he can pull clear for Hojas Racing before handing over to Toshiyuki Ochai. They're running in the Pro-Am class, but they've had an overall victory last time out at Fuji. Might be able to pull it off again today, but Gamma Racing will be trying their best to make sure that doesn't happen. Yesterday, though, second place didn't go to either of those cars. We had victory for the Gamma Racing crew of Evan Chen and Chris van der Drift, but the car that finished second was number 63, Yusuf Ohaka and Takashi Kasai. Kasai, the Japanese racer, will start today before handing over to the Finn. Snaking its way round there, just having mentioned Kasai. He's starting 4th in that queue behind the green, white and red liveried Gamma Racing car. He'll be kicking off from 3rd position. Huge number of sweeping S's at this circuit, built for the 2010 World Championship. Formula 1 came here on 4 occasions. Sebastian Vettel won 3 of them. Fernando Alonso won the other one. And if I had my wish, the very end of the lap would be slightly modified to have a longer start-finish straight and not have that long right-hander that doesn't help. It's a short start-finish straight. If they could cut out the long final corner, cars approaching that now, I think it would be a better sweep. But certainly that wonderful long straight out of turn 2 up to turn 3, great for overtaking into that hairpin at turn 3. Plenty of runoff. Cars do go wide, but they can rejoin. That's wonderful too. And the second best passing place at the end of the second straight, which takes the cars up to turn 4. Here is the final corner, the one that, from personal reasons, I'd rather not have. It looks wonderful, but I really think, for racing's sake, if that could be locked out, we'd have another place to pass down into turn 1. Turn 1 will be the corner they're approaching now. They're coming through the final corner, 2 by 2, as requested by the race officials. All eyes on the lights on the starting gantry. Not brilliant spacing towards the end of the grid, but Afik Yazid, it's a long hold. His nose is marginally in front, waiting to see if he or will be the driver in front when they get down to the first corner. It looks like he's got the job done sufficiently well. Water spray firing up to celebrate the start of the race. Just in front of the grandstands, also quite welcome way of cooling off the fans in the stands. Tidy start to the race. Yeah, looking pretty good there. And Richard Muscat trying his best. The Australian racer, the black GDL racing car with a traditional GDL Gianluca De Lorenzi red flash up the middle, a little bit twitchy under braking into turn 3. The power comes down. The drivers love these cars, plenty of run, and you see a couple of drivers in mid-grid running very wide indeed out of the hairpin at turn 3. Plenty of run-off. They've rejoined the circuit, and one of them was one of the Thai brothers, the Seri-Thoranical brothers, but no damage done. Chris van der Drift in 3rd place, catching Richard Muscat right on his tail. Afik Yazid leading the race through turn 4, turn 5, through to turn 6. If you lead here, you should be good for the rest of the lap. It's a series of S's from here. Very little space in which to pass. You can get close, but trying to find a line around. There's always the next corner coming up on you very quickly indeed. Afik Yazid carrying a little bit more speed. Richard Muscat maybe going a little tight on the corner there, and the Malaysian racer finding a bit of an advantage by the next corner. Muscat very late on the brakes. Wound it back in all over the place. So in fact, Yazid being very tidy in the front, Muscat being very feisty behind, pushing here, digging there, diving there. Hasn't pulled it off, but he's got Chris van der Drift right on his tail, so he's got to not make any mistakes at all. The Australian ahead of the New Zealander, and the Malaysian ahead of the two of them. This first 3 starting to make their break. In behind in 4th place is Takashi Kasai, not quite able to keep up with them. The driver who should have been further forward is Thoranacle, but he's we saw him go off at the exit of turn 3, so he's tumbled down the order a little bit, I think. Approaching the end of the opening lap, the driver who started on pole, a Pro-Am class runner, Afik Yazid, he's the pro. He will be leading the race at the end of the opening lap by about half a second. Let's have a look. 0.452 of a second. Chris van der Drift actually did slightly fall adrift at the end of that opening lap. 4th place, Chris. Is indeed Kasai. Now, I've done wrong by the Thoranacle brothers, because Saroon isn't the white car that went wide, because he's there in 5th place in the background of the shot. You can just see him coming into the picture. In behind, he's got Jake Rattenbury, who's sharing this weekend with Brendan Leach for Liput Motorsport. See them in 6th place overall. And then racer from Hong Kong, Philip Kadori. I called him an Australian just he's from Hong Kong. Apologies for that. He is running. He's gained a position. He's up into 7th overall. Just going through our picture with 44 on his tail, that's Clement Lee. They swap positions on the opening lap with Kadori moving ahead. All clean and tidy. Kumar Prabhakaran bringing up the rear of the field. Car number 98 for Vincenzo Sospiri Motorsport. Tidy first lap, 0.452 of a second. Now we're looking at the last car, that's Prabhakaran out of turn 3, past the national pit lane. This race 50 minutes. Afik Yazid starting to stretch his legs, starting to open up an advantage over Richard Muscat. Muscat, the Australian racer, in 2nd place overall, but the second lap's been a good one for Yazid. Now, don't forget at the end of the opening lap, there's nearly a second gap between 2nd and 3rd, between Muscat and van der Drift, but I think if we have a wider shot, we'll see that Muscat has now got his hands, no, not that full of van der Drift, so either van der Drift still tired from finishing at the very sharp end of the Blancpain GT World Challenge Asia race, 2nd overall, to sprint down for the podium to start this race. And maybe just biding his time, maybe he's trying to keep his tyres sweet while Yazid and Muscat use their hard, or maybe he simply doesn't have the car underneath him at this point in the race, but I would put my money on him preserving his rubbers. He wants to keep them in sight, but he wants to keep his rubber sweet for as long as he can. It's very hot, very humid, and going through the run of S's, it really, really works the tyres on these cars here in Korea. Gap between 1st and 2nd goes out by 1/10 of a second to the advantage of race leader Afik Yazid. Richard Muscat holding on in 2nd place. In fact, just set the fastest 3rd sector of all. Lap always traditionally split into 3 timing sectors, and was quicker by some margin. First 2 sectors of the 3. Yazid pulled clear. The final sector, where it gets really quite tight and scrappy, and then that long right-hander. Advantage going the way of Muscat. There he's using what we call the bonus section of the track. It's running wide on the exit of the hairpin, the first hairpin. That's at turn 3. Plenty of runoff, but you want to get it back on the track as quickly as possible for the short straight up to this corner, turn number 4. Car 69 being warned for having the wrong driver ID. It's saying it's Doyon Huang, but it should be Zen Lo who's kicked off the race. That's for Ileso Motorsport. They're running in 8th place overall. And again, early part of the lap, advantage Afik Yazid. And the Malaysian driver certainly pushing on very hard indeed as they go to the 2nd sector. Let's have a look. In the first part of the lap, he gained 0.4 of a second over the chasing Richard Muscat, but as we saw last time around, the first 2 sectors advantage to Yazid. This time the gap in the 2nd sector is we're dealing thousandths of a second, but in the final sector last time around was where the advantage seemed to go to the chasing Aussie Richard Muscat. Let's have a look if he does it all over again. Yeah, he does seem towards the end of the lap to close in all over again. As you can see, the track is sort of wide or wide enough, but a lot of points has concrete barriers, concrete walls lining the side of the circuit, certainly there to grab any car that runs wide. Chasing in 3rd place, Chris van der Drift. Just really to see their timing interval sectors. They go through the penultimate corner. Van der Drift, yeah, driving quite cautiously at this stage, but as part of a pairing that's grabbed already 5 wins out of 7 starts, and another win was taken away from them for a technical infringement. You have to just presume they know what they're doing, and Chris van der Drift will start to close in later in the sequence. Yeah, and again, Muscat, he's dropped 0.2 of a second on that lap, but in the final sector he was still the fastest driver. Second overall, losing a tiny bit of ground, but doing his utmost in the final third of each of the laps to stop the rot, to stop Afik Yazid escaping from him. Fourth place still, Kasai in the background, number 63 Lamborghini, entered by FFF Racing Team. And the top car in AM is still in fifth place overall. Very, very impressive run by Sarun Sarithoranakul, who'll be handing over to his brother Saravut, who started yesterday. What we're seeing here is from Sarun backwards, pretty much everybody set their best lap last time around. Slower to get to their ultimate pace than the top four runners, and falling away somewhat from them, but all picking up the pace as they go, as they get the feel for the tyres, how much grip they've got on what is another very, very hot and humid day here in South Korea. We're about to have a change of places. Philip Kaduri in the middle of the battle, driver from Hong Kong, racing car number 77. He's running in the Pro-Am class. And he's just being pushed very hard indeed, but not passed by Hulin Han. But it's been a good lap for both of them. Both deposed Sutilak Buncharoen, Thai racer. He's now outside the top 10. That's Buncharoen. And the car in behind, the red metallic one, Hulin Han. Sorry, what am I talking about? That's number 30, that's Matsuda. A very wild and wacky livery. Matsuda competing for the YH Racing Team. He's sharing with fellow Japanese racer Daijiro Yoshihara. Just look at that graphic at the side of the screen. It's the Asian Championship, but just look how many nationalities are in there. Better lap from Richard Muscat, 0.7 of a second. I mean, oh gosh, what's the difference? He gained 5/100ths of a second, but again, he just actually this time he banged in the fastest middle sector of anyone. So they're seesawing backwards and forwards, but the story is exactly the same. 1/3 of a second is traditionally gained by the race leader Yazid on the opening sector of the lap, and 1/3 of a second is taken back by Muscat in the final third. In the middle sector, there's precious little between them. Car number 30, second in the Lamborghini Cup class. That's Matsuda leading the Lamborghini Cup class in number 44. Seventh place overall is Clement Lee. And that 852 Challengers entered car, Clement shares with Paul Wong. Having a very, very good run indeed at the moment, seventh overall. Jake Rattenbury just went through the shot. Car number 44 here is Clement Lee, leading the Lamborghini Cup class. 852 Challengers. Always wanted to find out what that means. There's 852 people entering the team. Who knows? But anyhow, going very, very well, leading the Lamborghini Cup class. Must do a bit more homework. And if you just come into this race, we're just over 10 minutes into a 50-minute race. Already the driver's going to feel very, very uncomfortable in these cars. It's very, very hot and humid here in South Korea. Unusually hot. Hot enough for there to be national alerts issued to anybody who's got a mobile phone. Basically saying, stay out of the sun, drink lots of water. Plenty of sense in all of that. These drivers, though, they are out of the sun and they do need to drink water. They will have drink systems in the car, but for lots of them, they think, well, I've got 25 minutes, I've just got to grin and bear it, but it's going to be unbearably hot, probably over 60 degrees in those cars. Afik Yazid continues to lead from Richard Muscat. Chris van der Drift, I thought, would have the pace to match them, but right now, cautiously running in the background. Wait, there, just coming to the shot in the background in third place overall. Chris van der Drift is 3 seconds down on the race leader, or 2.9 seconds. No, sorry, that's 2.9 seconds back on Muscat. He's now 4 seconds down on the race leader. That man is the race leader. Car number 38, Hojas Racing, Afik Yazid, Pro-Am class runner. The car is second place. Richard Muscat also running in a Pro-Am entry for GDL Racing. He'll hand over to Daniel Stuttard later in the race. But the leading Pro-Pro combination just coming to shot now with that red flash up the middle of the green and white car. That's Chris van der Drift, and he's sharing that for Gamma Racing with Evan Chen. Chris van der Drift from New Zealand, Evan Chen from Taipei. Here's 57 leading the AM class, Sarun Siru Thoranakul. 5th place overall. 2 seconds are good over Jake Rattenbury. Jake Rattenbury on board with Brendan Leach this weekend, competing for the Leipzig Motorsport crew, just out of the background of the shot. Busy down in the midfield, 69 holding down that 6th position, 8th position overall, but in behind, very tight indeed. Huilin Han getting in the mix, Philip Kadori trying to gain positions. And Sutiluk Buncharoen tucked in behind. Huilin Han running that grey car in 2nd in the grouping. 9th overall, leading the AM class, 3rd in the AM class, trying to get into 2nd past the 69 car, which has been kicked off by Zhen Lo. Will be handed over to Doyen Huang in the second half of the race. Oh, big twitch there from Philip Kadori. Front of the car seemed to wash away from him. Snap steering, got it back on the straight and narrow. Oh, this is getting very busy indeed. Slight mistake there from 39th Huilin Han. I think he was caught out because Zhen Lo braked slightly earlier than he expected, had to twitch to driver's right to try and swerve around him, and now is feeling, I think, really quite frustrated. Held in behind in that number 39 car. This could provide an opportunity for Kaduri and Buncharoen, who are in behind, 10th and 11th overall in 77 and 78. And not too far further back, the car that's 2nd in the Lamborghini Cup class, Matsuda. Such is the rate of this battle, bashing into each other, maybe almost. Oh, Kadori's having another look up the inside. It's getting very busy indeed. You sort of sharp intake of breath, you wait for contact. Contact hasn't come. Big twitchy moment there for Kadori. That won't have helped his speed through the final few corners of the lap, but certainly applying himself with a real positive attitude. Not such a good entry to the start-finish straight for Huilin Han. This should be providing an opportunity for Kadori. Oh, it's such a short straight, couldn't get that superior momentum onto the straight to pay in time before he had to brake for turn 1. Turn 1, you see, feeds almost directly into turn 2. Now's another opportunity. Get a clean exit from turn 2. You've got the longest laps straight on the lap, coming uphill very slightly, and then a steeper end to the straight before the drivers had to get heavy braking for the right-hand hairpin at the top of the straight. Best opportunity for overtaking. So Sutiluk Buncharoen was having a little look to see if he could get past Kadori, but Kadori, the driver from Hong Kong, holds him off, all very tidy on the exit of turn 3. Another chance coming up, the short straight past the National Standard pits. That's part way around the lap up towards turn 4. Looks so their order's going to stay as it is. Zhen Lo in 69. Huilin Han in 39 in 9th place behind him. Philip Kadori, car number 77 in 10th, just outside the top 10. Sutiluk Buncharoen, the Thai racer, in number 78. There he is in the background of the shot, the largely dark grey racer. Out front, by the way, fastest lap of the race was banged in by Afik Yazid, the race leader last time around. That puts him, well, he gained half a second. That's putting 1.769 seconds to the good over Richard Muscat. They're both in the Pro-Am class, the leading car in the Pro-Pro combination. Chris van der Drift, he's now nearly 4 seconds down on Muscat. Just doesn't have the answers to Gamma Racing at the moment, but he's got nearly a 5-second advantage over the FFF Racing Team entry, number 63, with Takashi Kasai at the wheel. Pit window opens in just over 4 minutes' time. When is there going to be a place change? Time and time as we look at this battle. For 8th place, we see Zhen Lo being challenged but not yet passed by Huilin Han, and you almost feel as though the cars in behind might be the ones that benefit. Philip Kadori and Sutiluk Buncharoen. You have to take your hat off to Huilin Han. He's prepared to have a go not just at the obvious overtaking places, but other positions around the circuit as well. Into turn 1, you simply don't get the space. Turn 2 comes very soon thereafter. If you get a really good exit from turn 2, fastest right-hander, but you're approaching it not at very quick speed, but you can keep accelerating through it. You can then get a bit of a run up this, the longest straight, rising towards the finish, but this time around, Huilin Han not close enough to make a challenge. So endlessly entertaining, but the order remains the same. 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. Still in the order of Zhen Lo, Huilin Han, Philip Kaduri and Sutuluk Buncharoen. And then into the sweeping run down the back third of the circuit. Out of turn 6, it's slow, and they can really start to go for it. Go for it is the operational term, but you don't overtake in the S's, or very, very rarely indeed. But certainly, Huilin Han really fancied his chances there. Couldn't make it work, but he's not afraid to try pretty much any way he considers. It's not happening. 77 Philip Kaduri trying to get in there as well. This could get messy. Certainly exciting. Wonderful racing action. And now that finally, you just knew he was going to crack at some point. And now Zhen Lo in number 69, you fear he's probably going to be moved back a few more places unless he can compose himself very quickly indeed. So the passing manoeuvre has been successful for Huilin Han. Chinese racer for T-Squared Racing. And look, having got ahead of 69, able to pull clear, and talking of pulling clear, the last few laps have been very good indeed for race leader Afik Yazid. 2.9 seconds to good over number 47 for Richard Muscat. You can see the bumps on the exit of the circuit there, the edge of the circuit. Circuits in the tropics traditionally can be bumpy after monsoon seasons. Was drifting the second place car around the Australian Richard Muscat. Last time around he lost 9/10 of a second on the race deal. That's why the gap's out at 2.9 seconds. Now, what's the respective speed of Chris van der Drift? You know what? Chris van der Drift was closing last time around, but not by any great amount, by 1/1000th of a second. He still stays third. He's nearly 4 seconds down on Richard Muscat. But the story as the race really settles into its form. The pit window opens in just under a minute's time. Is Afik Yazid in a Pro-Am pairing, is likely to stay out as long as he possibly can, and while he does, he's pulling ever further clear. Richard Muscat in second place, losing ground. All Australian lineup. This is also a Pro-Am pairing. Richard Muscat will hand over to Daniel Stuttard. Race leader over the line. Another new fastest lap. 4 seconds to good over Muscat. It's really coming good for Yazid. So quite clearly he kept his tyres in very good form. Is there any closing between Van der Drift and Muscat? Yes, marginally. By much? No, not by much at all. It's 3.8 seconds a gap between them now, third to second. You see the last couple of laps have gained really quite sizable margins for the race leader. Afik Yazid, Malaysian racer, pressing on with very great style indeed. Car number 38, entered by Hojust Racing. And the driver from Kuala Lumpur knows his Lamborghinis very well. Started racing Lamborghinis back in 2015. And here comes the car shared by the Thai brothers. And until the pit stop is pulled off, Sarun Thoranikal will continue to race that. Pit window just opened. And he'll hand over to his brother Saravut. And the first car into the pits is Jake Rattenbury. He came in from 6th place, and he will hand over the number 7 Liput Motorsport Pro-Am entry to Brendan Leach. There it is, black with the yellow flashes on it. All looks standard. You can't tell the temperature down in the pits, I can guarantee. When you're watching all around the world, anybody getting here will feel as though the oven door has been left open. Not just very hot, but wet hot too. The most debilitating sort of hot heat. Huge humidity. All the crews running around in fireproof overalls. Pretty much the entirety of the midfield has pulled in, but the top 5 runners in the order: Yazid, Muscat, Van der Drift, Kasai and Surrey Thoranikal still out on the circuit. Still time to make. Quite a few drivers have been given warnings for exceeding track limits. Jake Rattenbury was one of them. He's a driver in from 6th place overall. 4.8. Well, let's just see what the gap is last time. It was 4 and a bit seconds last time around between race leader Afik Yazid and Richard Muscat. Another 7/8 of a second gained by the Malaysian. Muscat now 4.9 seconds back in third place overall, in second place overall. Third place almost a similar margin back. And Kasai, here he is coming to the pits, number 63, FFF Racing Team. His Finnish teammate Yusuf Pohaka waiting to take over, as a lot of the cars who came in at the first opportunity have completed their pit stops, going back out onto the circuit. Chris van der Drift running third, gradually catching Richard Muscat in second, but not by really more than by a fraction of a second. Has had his second warning for exceeding track limits, so caution will need to be applied. He'll be out of the car fairly soon. He'll be handing over to his teammate Evan Chen, but for them it's a substandard performance. They have traditionally been ahead of the pack in 2019, but today made to work much harder for it by all their rivals. But it has to be said, Van der Drift has a comfortable margin behind him. He's 11 seconds to good over Kasai, but of course that's me falling over the fact that Kasai has just reported into the pits. That's why his pit entry was the gap from third back to fourth has stretched so much. So Afik Yazid, as some of the midfielders come in, and there's a driver who was pushing very hard indeed. Philip Kaduri waiting to make his stop. No, he's out of the pits. But still, Afik Yazid will go on as late as he possibly can before the pit window closes. 5 seconds to the good over Richard Muscat. Muscat pushed very hard indeed in the opening laps of the race. But really, as the laps started to unwind, the last 3 laps have been very good indeed for Yazid. Just though so much more experience of racing Lamborghinis, and he's also just had that experience to make the tyres stay sweet in very hot and humid conditions where the tyres really take a beating. No sooner do I mention that than Richard Muscat has a better lap and actually reduces the deficit somewhat, but he knows he's going to be coming in very soon. Maybe it's the charge towards a cool drink in the pit lane for the drivers to do the first part of the lap. Chris van der Drift in the background of the shot, our top 3 in picture. On another lap, Afik Yazid going up towards the turn 3 hairpin. 4.3 seconds to good. There we can see the black and the red charging Richard Muscat, number 47 car from GDL Racing. Chris van der Drift in the background. 9.2 seconds down the race leader, and he's been warned twice for exceeding track limits. He's got to watch his line. We are now at the midpoint of the race. The pit window is still open. The top 3 runners still out on the circuit. Driver who was 4th, number 63 entry, has pitted, and now Yusuf Pohaka has taken over from Kasai, is out on the circuit. He had pole for yesterday's race. He's got the potential to be the quickest driver out there. Let's see what he can do. Just over half the race will be his stint time, but he's going to have to really press on. Must be said, when looking at Chris van der Drift, it seems hard to imagine he's down in third place. He's driving that with a great smooth attacking style, but maybe it's a setup issue or whatever it is. Certainly Hojas Racing seems to have got it just spot on for Afik Yazid. Richard Muscat will be very pleased with the car put beneath him by GDL Racing. Yazid continues to lead for Hojas Racing. His Japanese teammate Toshiyuki Achai be waiting in pit lane, suited and booted, feeling hot, waiting but with excitement to see if he can take over a car that he might be able to propel towards victory at the end of the race. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Still just under half of this race to go. They have had a win. They won the second of the 2 races at Fuji last time out. The 38 Hojas Racing car. So they have the potential. Can they do it all over again? Chris van der Drift just reported into the pits. There he goes from Gamma Racing. I thought I heard a rumble past my commentary position. So let's see what his teammate Evan Chen can do. But don't forget, of course, for the race the first two in the race. Afik Yazid, he'll hand over to an amateur teammate in the form of Toshiyuki Ochai, and likewise Richard Muscat will be handing over his Pro-Am combination to Daniel Stuttard. Car 68, track limits now, black and white warning flag. No wonder Chris van der Drift came in early. It was the shame of it all. So he's been caught in his attempts to keep up, pushing that little bit too wide. But after the black and white warning flag, I'm afraid it's punishment time. So you get that third warning that's made plain to you by the black and white warning flag. Exceeding track limits, driving in a style that's inappropriate. So how much longer will Richard Muscat stay out? The answer is as long as he possibly can before handing over to Daniel Stuttard. And every single one of those laps has to be pressed as hard as the drivers can possibly manage to try and eke out a second here, a second there. But I must say, as Evan Chen comes out of the Gamma Racing entry, that Richard Muscat's been very, very impressive. I mean, his first year in Lamborghinis was last year, and he's really, really pressing on. Recent years have largely been in V8 supercars in his native Australia, but certainly taking to Lamborghinis with real style. But Afik Yazid has been racing them that little bit longer, and leading the race by the best part of 5 seconds now, 4.9 seconds last time around. Yeah, this is the 5th season in Lamborghini racing, and his race meeting is over here at Korea International Circuit, because Afik is coming in to hand over to Toshiyuki Ochai, his teammate. Pit window, he couldn't have done another lap. He would have run past his pit entry time. Muscat is in behind him as well, just had a shot. Should be 5 and a bit seconds down. So he is. So bear in mind the first two cars both in the Pro-Am class, but the Gamma Racing car that came in the lap before, as Muscat parks in front of Yazid, that is a pro driver lineup. So theoretically, in the last second half of the race, Evan Chen, the 68 Gamma Racing car, who's already a lap into his stint, should have the advantage over the co-drivers in the first two cars. They're both Pro-Am entries, whereas Evan Chen is in a pro lineup with Chris van der Drift. Chen at the wheel at the moment, already starting to wind the car up to pace. Quick glance at the timing screen, see if anyone's been pinged for driver penalty for track limits, and that one is car number 30. Been pushing on in the Lamborghini Cup class. Yoshihara at the wheel at the moment, but he and the driver of car number 39, the car in front of him, Huilin Han, have been given their first warning for exceeding track limits. They can have another one, and a third one will bring out the black and white warning flag. And any continuation of exceeding, getting 4 wheels over the outside white line, marking the edge of the circuit, will result in drive-through penalties. So you can gamble with pushing hard, but gamble too many times, get caught too many times, and you'll be in trouble. This was the order before the pit stops. 38 from 47 from in the background, 68, and it's the same all over again. But the fact the black entry with the orange nose FFF Racing Team was the first of them to pit. Yusuf Ohaka into that car, and he is much closer to the Gamma Racing car. There's the Gamma Racing car coming to the top of the picture. 1, 2, 3, 4 and a bit seconds, I would suggest, or thereabouts. Behind Evan Chen is Yusuf Ohaka. In fact, confirmation on the start-finish line. 3.88 seconds between Evan Chen and Yusuf Ohaka, and I think we're going to see the Finn hunting him down. Just under 19 minutes remaining in this race. 50 minutes on the clock when we started, and the hunt is on. Pushing hard, Brendan Leach listed as 6th position in car number 7 for Lippert Motorsport. Lamborghini Auckland sponsorship on the side, over the bumps on the exit of turn 4. Tidies it through 5. And gentle entry to turn 6, and then the sweepers begin. Leading before the pit stops, leading after the pit stops. Car number 38, Hojas Racing Pro-Am driver pairing, and the AM driver is Toshiyuki Ochai. And he's in his he started racing He's Porsche Carrera Cup Japan champion in 2012, but thereafter he's been a Lamborghini man through and through, so he carries an awful lot of experience. And the advantage over Daniel Stuttard about the same as it was before the pit stops. 5 and a bit seconds. Well, just you can see the top of the screen. This is 4.948. That's a midpoint time around the lap. Let's see what it is at the end of the lap. So what that suggests is that Stuttard is actually closing in. Let's compare their lap times. Well, no, in fact, he lost 5/100ths of a second. But what we are seeing is Evan Chen, the pro driver, is catching the AM driver, and in turn, Puhaka's not letting Evan Chen get away. The two pro lineups, 68 and 65, Chen and Puhaka, third and fourth, but catching the first two runners. And certainly for Daniel Stuttard, his second place overall is under severe threat as Chen makes his charge. Lamborghini Cup being led by this car number 44 in 6th overall. Clement Lee started it, and Paul Wong at the wheel for 852 challenges, looking very comfortable indeed. See any changes about to occur. A couple more cars over the start finish line. 44 ahead of 77. In other words, Paul Wong, Lamborghini Cup class leader, ahead of the Pro-Am pairing with a new driver on board this weekend, Dan Wells, British racer, born in Southampton, lives in Hong Kong, and he's taken that over, number 77 from Lipert Motorsport, from Philip Kaduri, Hong Kong racer. Oh, well, there we are. I look down for a second, I look up, and oh dear. Well, no sooner had Evan Chen gone past Daniel Stuttard than he stuttered. And he spun out of turn 4. You see the C in the background. He won't want to look at the C right now. And Yusuf Pohaka has gone past as well. So suddenly, having started the lap in 2nd overall, Daniel Stuttard dropped to 3rd as he was overtaken, went for a spin, and is now down in 4th. And here goes Evan Chen on the charge. His next target is the driver leading the race, Toshiyuki Achai. Needs to take about 5 and a bit seconds, maybe 7 seconds, as much as that after the incident, out of the race leader to take a challenge, see if he can go top of the pile. But at the moment, Evan Chen, motoring in the way. His rivals are not yet up to speed. Fastest driver on the circuit last time around was Yusuf Pohaka. Second fastest driver in 5th, Brendan Leach. So it does suggest we're going to have a gradual closing as they were 2.5 seconds faster than Ochai. So Ochai still leading the race. Here he comes, the Gamma Racing entry in the background in the heat haze. That's Evan Chen, 6.3 seconds down. He's catching the race leader. Yusuf Pohaka just coming up the rise now in the FFF Racing entry with the orange nose. 3rd place, catching the two of them. 8 seconds between 1st and 3rd. For Daniel Stuttard, he came through at the end of that lap, down in 4th place, started it in 2nd, finishes it in 4th. He's 7.5 seconds or thereabouts down on Puhaka, and that is a gap that's only going one way, not in the favour of the Australian. Evan Chen, middle of our screens, car number 68, Gamma Racing, already 5 wins for good this season with Chris van der Drift. He's setting off after the race lead. He's got 14 and a bit minutes remaining, but last time around he only took, what did he take out? He took 7/10 of a second. We can do some maths later, but there may not be enough time. Lap time's 2 minutes 13. That means we'll get about 6 of those in, and if he gains, he's going to have to gain at a greater pace than that. He needs to gain more like 9/10 of a second. Let's give him no change. Give him a whole second he's got to gain every lap on this. Car number 38, Toshiyuki Achai, surely has got enough in hand, but there could be a back marker, it could be any other incident where he loses momentum and allows the chasers to close in. The chaser is Evan Chen, but in turn he is being chased and caught by Yusuf Pohaka. In fact, it'd be really handy to see them right now and see Pohaka should be pretty much right on the tail of Chen. There is our race leader, 1, 2, 3. Oh, in the background, yeah, it's getting closer and closer. 2nd and 3rd flashing through. So let's see what the gap is from Ochai. 4.7 seconds to the good. third place, Puhaka catching the pair of them. Last time around it was 8.1 seconds covering first to third. Now it's 6.2. And the driver of car number 77 to report to race control after the race. The driver of and team manager of Liput Motorsport. The driver, I don't know if it's Philip Kadori from his stint or Dan Wells who's taken it over, but clearly something slightly untoward has occurred out on the circuit that needs an explanation to the race officials. Second place would be a very alien position for the 68 Gamma Racing crew. They're running there now. They're accustomed to winning races. They're not accustomed to being hunted down. And Yusuf Puhaka in car number 63 from the FFF Racing team is doing just that here at the Korea International Circuit. The Finn very, very much on a charge. Gained 0.4 of a second on the last lap on Evan Chen. Evan Chen in 68 holding on to second place. Aware there's some traffic up ahead. Traffic is going to have to lap. So Puhaka, the Finn, super consistent this season. They've had no wins. 5th, 4th, 2nd, 2nd, 3rd, 3rd, 2nd. 2 wins to the good for Puhaka. Sorry, 2 poles to the good for Puhaka. Can they take their first win? But the clock continues to count down into the final dozen minutes, and Toshiyuki Akai leading the race. 4.8 seconds to the good. Second warning for exceeding track limits, cars number 30 and 39. That's Yoshihara in the Lamborghini Cup class, and Huilin Han, who's leading the AM class. So let's take a look at the gaps. Ochai leading. The gaps come down to 3.5 seconds. Then just 0.7 of a second between second and third. Evan Chen holding on to that second place in car 68. You can see the orange flash on the nose of the FFF Racing entry. Yusuf Puhaka closing in all the time. Up towards the hairpin at turn 3 they come. Still Ochai, the Japanese racer, leading. He's also leading the Pro-Am class. Then come the 2 pro combinations, Chen and Puhaka. Can he hang on? They're able to take chunks out of him every time. But suddenly Brendan Leach starting to catch Daniel Stuttard now. Australian Stuttard in 4th place overall, running 2nd in the Pro-Am class, but 3rd in the Pro-Am class is Brendan Leach, and he's catching him by quite some margin. Last time round he took 5 and a bit seconds. Was there a mistake from Daniel Stuttard? Well, we'll see. Looking around this lap, it might be that his tyres are just really, really going away from him. Let's wait and see. And let's wait and see if Yusuf Puhaka can get past Evan Chen for 2nd place overall into the final 10 minutes out of this 50-minute race here at the Korea International Circuit. The Finn is getting closer and closer. Evan Chen from Taipei hanging on for now for Gamma Racing. As he has to fight really, really hard to resist Puhaka, that's probably slightly hampering his chance to try and close down on the race leading Toshiyuki Ochai. Yeah, no longer is he able to be 100% focused on the chase. He's having to think about defence. Puhaka trying to be smooth behind him, but just constantly keep exerting pressure. Great little scrap. They're starting to slow each other down a little bit. This is a better lap for the race leader Ochai, as these 2 scrap coming through the penultimate corner of the lap. They're pushing very, very hard indeed, but it looks like the race leader for Hojust Racing is able to extend his advantage. 4.2 seconds to good now. Yeah, he gained half a second and more on this pair. Half a second is all it is between them, 2nd and 3rd, but it's still Chen from Puhaka. Ochai, 8.5 minutes remaining. Here comes Ochai in the turquoise Hojust Racing entry, and you have to say that advantage of 4.2 seconds ought to be enough for him to defend it, as long as the pair behind keep on fighting. Is Daniel Stuttard going to last much longer in 4th place overall? Brendan Leach right on his tail, just a 1/4 of a second down on the start-finish line, so just out of the back of this shot. and a few more seconds beyond. In fact, Stuttard is nearly 20 seconds down on Puhaka. Puhaka is the second of this pairing. Having a little look up towards the hairpin, considering making a move, doesn't do so. That's the second hairpin, that's turn 4. Rapidly they're into turn 5, and they arc to the right, turn to an equally tight turn 6, and then the track opens out for them. Slight descent from that corner on this largely flat circuit, but enough of gradient to make it a little bit interesting as well as challenging. Where is the move going to come? Is the move going to come? Car 38, slow speed in pit lane under investigation. Car 38 is the car we're looking at now. It's the race-leading Hojust Racing entry. Slow speed in pit lane under investigation. That's the official reason. There it is on the screens for you to see as well. So just as Hojust Racing looks like it was possibly heading towards its second win of the year, having won one of the 2 races last time out at Fuji, there is a possible fly in its ointment. 7 minutes remaining. We'll have to wait to see what the officials consider to be the appropriate treatment for this consideration. It's only under investigation. There is no formal charge as yet. They're considering the evidence. 4.2 seconds to the good in the lead of the race over Evan Chen last time around. What's it going to be this time? Up or down? Down it comes. 3.5 seconds. Oh, is there going to be a sting in the tail? Is Evan Chen going to be able to, if not take victory, is he going to hold on to that second place? I think he's just got enough answers. 0.67 of a second to the good over Yusu Puhaka, but Puhaka's been able to get close, but not be able to make a passing manoeuvre, or even make much of a jink to suggest that he was about to try one. Yeah, it does seem as though the driver from Taipei, Evan Chen, should keep Gamma Racing in second place ahead of Yusu Puhaka, because I would have thought Puhaka had caught onto his tail, was closer last time around, dropping back slightly now, but I would have thought if he was capable of taking that second place, he would have done it earlier. Right now it looks like he's struggling somewhat to keep up. They're both faster than the race leader, but Toshiyuki Achai under investigation. We'll keep an eye out for any further statement on that. May not get one before the end of the race, but he is resisting their charge. He's not as quick as they are, but the gap is only coming down in smaller bits. And now Evan Chen has actually broken clear from Yusu Puhaka, so he can attack rather than having to attack and defend at the same time. And certainly this could go all the way to the wire, but I think there's enough in hand for Hojust Racing. Their car 38 in the lead of the race. Looking at the timing splits around the lap so far, well, 0.2, quarter of a second has been lost by the chasing Evan, has been gained by the Evan Chen as he chases. Puhaka coming back at him just when he thought he'd shaken the fin off. He hasn't managed to do so. The fin coming back. Car number 88 being warned. First warning, that's fine. That's Gabriele Moroni exceeding track limits at turn 3. That's the right-hand hairpin at the end of the longest straight. Should be okay with that. Clock continues to count down. What is the gap between first and second? Onto another lap goes Ochai down to 2.6 seconds. He lost another, well, almost an entire second last time around. So this battle, fierce as it is, could suddenly become the battle for the lead. But can they get 2.6 seconds in the final 4 minutes, the final 2 laps? I don't think so. They'd be gaining by nearly a second a lap, but still the turquoise entry from Hojust Racing coming through the heat haze up towards the hairpin at turn 3, I think has got just enough in hand. But I think when they go to the checkered flag, they'll be possibly just a second behind. This battle for second place will be closing right to within a second of the race leader. Evan Chen looking comfortable in second place now. Up to turn 4, into turn 5. Flash at the front of the screen was Toshiyuki Okai. He is the overall race leader. Also the Pro-Am leader. And the fact he's being able to hold off the two pro lineups behind shows what a great job Afik Yazid did in the first part of the race, but for Toshiyuki Kai doing a really tidy job. Not as quick as those behind, but he had enough of a lead and he's defended it judiciously. 3 minutes remain in the race. But just remember those intervals, not so long ago, first to second, Ochai to Chen was 5 seconds, and it's come down. It's now down to 2.6 seconds around the early part of this lap. It's pretty much, oh no, the middle sector very good indeed for Chen. He's taken 7/10 of a second out of the race leader. Gap's coming down, but still, surely that's enough with 2 3/4 minutes remaining for our race leader, Toshiyuki Ochai. 3.3 seconds covering the top 3 cars now to down to 3.2 seconds. It's still coming down, but look at the clock, 2.5 minutes remaining, and surely the turquoise entry from Hojas Racing will prevail. I say that with a big question mark, frankly, because look, Evan Chen getting closer and closer, down to 1.6 seconds. He lost exactly 1.001 seconds last time around, and now a mistake. Maybe as the rivals got closer and closer, he looked in the mirror, outbraked himself, and that is grist to the mill. Out of the first 2 corners, running wide out of 1, got it back on the track in turn number 2. A slip up there from Ochai. This is real incentive for Evan Chen. Looks though it was beyond him. I reckon they needed probably 1 further lap, but now is the opportunity. Can the braking be completed by the Japanese driver? Just about enough. Clouts the curb, but the first of the 2 apexes around the corner gets it together. Now blasting past the national pits. Evan Chen getting closer and closer. 1.6 seconds on the start-finish line was the gap between first and second. It's now down to 0.6 of a second. That mistake cost him an entire second. That was the second cushion I thought he'd still have at the end of the final lap. He's got a fraction of a second now, and Yusuf Pohaka closing in, and I think we're going to find Evan Chen losing a bit of speed as he tries to find a way past Toshiyuki Ochai, and this gives opportunity, gives grist, gives hope to Yusuf Pohaka. Pohaka making a better exit to the previous corner, go through the sweepers now, getting closer and closer to Evan Chen, who in turn is getting closer and closer to the race leader, Toshiyuki Ochai. Can the Japanese racer, up the inside, oh dearie me, that was a very easy pass for the lead. Evan Chen timing it to perfection. Ochai tries to fight back, gets his nose in front. There's going to be contact. Both go sideways. Pohaka will say, thank you very much. You both lost momentum. I'm up the inside. But then Chen's not going to back off in the next corner. Through the twisters they go. But surely the Finn will get his nose properly in front when he rejoins the circuit, that is. They're still going through the twisters. This is epic racing. I said you couldn't pass through the S's. You can several times over. And now Pohaka into the lead for FFF Racing Team. This is fabulous. They saved all the best for last. That little slip up from Ochai started this lap in the lead of the race. Look at the clock. Less than a dozen seconds left, and it's all changed. The driver who started the lap in 3rd place is in the lead of the race now. The driver who led the race onto the lap is back into 3rd place. And we've just squeaked, have we, onto 1 more lap. Didn't see this is, yeah, they did literally by a second. They give themselves another lap of fun. For Ochai, I can only see him dropping away at the back. I was desperately looking at the clock, trying to spot the checkered flag, but they just squeaked in for 1 more lap, because it's 50 minutes this race, and they have just managed to get onto the final lap with 49 and a lot of seconds, 49 minutes and a lot of seconds on the clock. 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the order that was 3rd, 2nd and 1st the previous time around, but Pohaka seized the moment when Chen lost a little bit of momentum, and I must say Ochai fought back with great gusto. That's what put Chen in trouble and allowed Pohaka to dive past. The FFF Racing Team, perennial podium visitors, but they've not been on the top step this season, so in the pit lane you can be sure Takashi Kasai doesn't really know where to look, but right now he must say, surely we're going around the final lap. We've got through the early part where overtaking is immensely, that's where it's most likely, and now they're snaking around the back of the circuit into the S's, and look, Pohaka is just pulling clear very nicely indeed. Turn 7 turns to turn 8, looking very, very good indeed. Got things under control. Turn 9 follows, and again stretching his legs, pulling clear of Evan Chen. And for poor old Toshiyuki Ochai, thought it might have been his day, but the last lap really was a slow one. His own fault, outbraked himself into turn 1, possibly just checking the closing cars behind. Lost a second in there, and then as the chasers, first Chen and then Pohaka came onto his tail, he couldn't cope. There's a bit of traffic up ahead, but Puhaka's got enough in the bag. You can see the tyres don't have much life left in them. A big twitch from the Finn in the lead of the race. Chen still pressing, trying to go for win number 6 of this season. But I think with every twist he knows he's one corner less to make the challenge, one corner less likely to find a place to do so. And the final tight left before we go into the more open left, then the long right, and then the final corner will flick them onto the start-finish straight, and it will be victory for the first time this season for the FFF racing team, for Yusuf Pohaka, who brings it home, and Takashi Kasai, who started it off. The gap at the end of the race, just half a second between first and second place. Nochai eventually coming home in third, frustrated, but he still takes overall Pro-Am victory in third place overall. So a good run for Hojas Racing. It could have been win, but just a lap and a bit too long a race for them. And fourth place went to Brendan Leach in the end. He got past a lap or so ago while that exciting lead battle was happening. He got past Daniel Stuttard, who should come home in 5th place overall. So Brendan Leach, a quiet run, but a quick one, but wasn't able to get with the top 3, but picked up points accordingly. Just to reiterate, the gap between first and second at the end of the race, 0.592 of a second, or 0.791 according to the timing interval, but over the start-finish line, when they passed the checker flag, just under 0.6 of a second. But the most important thing for the FFF racing team, it was their first win in overall in this championship, so they'll be delighted with the result from this afternoon's action. Pro-Am honours to Achai Hojas Racing, Afik Yazid, who kicked it off from pole position. 3rd place overall, but winning in Pro-Am. Winning in Am, Zen Lo in 7th place overall. Car number 69, and leading the Lamborghini Cup in 9th place overall. 30 entry with Yoshihara bringing it to the flag at the finish. What hot racing action on a very hot, humid day here at the Korea International Circuit. They'll have all had a huge amount of fun. But we had the most fun of all because we got to watch it, and it was very tight indeed at the end. And better still, we had changing race order right the way to that final lap. Just looking if there are any further warnings of punishments, potential or otherwise, on the timing screen. They're not flashing up at the moment. So there we are, today's victors. All those 2nd and 3rd places now behind them. Now the big one. And they put that on the board. Yusuf Pohaka and the driver who kicked it all off, Takashi Kasai. He'll be greeting the Finn when the Finn gets back to park the car under the podium. Job well done. And it wasn't just the points for victory, maximum points all. It was the fact they had such a fun race in doing so. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. Best lap of the race was set by Afik Yazid in the opening stint from pole position. He had to make do to 3rd place at the end. Had the race been 2 laps shorter, he'd have been laughing. So there is the confirmation. 0.592 of a second, the gap between the race winner, Yusuf Pohaka, and Evan Chen at the end of the race. Toshi Yuki Achai ending up in 3rd place. Just 3 seconds covering those top 3 runners. And you can see Zen Lo and Doyon Huang, 7th place overall, winning the Am class, and Lamborghini Cup to number 30 down in 9th place overall, Yoshihara. So that is it from a hot and very humid Korea International Circuit. Do join us next time for more Lamborghini Super Trofeo Asia action. It's been great fun. And from me, Bruce Jones, it's goodbye.